Good day, ladies and gentlemen. I just read Angron, the Red Angel by David Guymer, and well, there is surprisingly little Angron. So the premise of Kosalak's wonderful adventure is the current master of the Conqueror, Kosalak the Forsworn, is trying to rebuild the Legion, when all of a sudden Angron appears and all the world leaders go insane. He has spent his entire career after the heresy trying to get the Legion back together, and when he is finally getting somewhere, the Primarch takes them all for a joyride to Melek Baal. During his arc, we follow him as he tries to save as much as possible, while also trying to get full mastery of the Conqueror, because it is currently being haunted by a ghost known as the Mistress, who is constantly causing the ship to disobey his orders. Hell, the ship sometimes even flat out tries to kill him. Meanwhile, we also follow a blood angel named Lydis, who has forsaken his legion and set out on the quest to become a world leader. He and his small group of renegades want nothing more than to become true masters of bloodshed. To them, obtaining the nails and joining the 12th seems like the best way to do so. Then there's also Shanka the Bloodless, a cursed world leader who is nigh indestructible, insanely powerful, and utterly batshit insane. He is haunted by a magical demonic angel who guides him, but mostly he is completely lost to the nails in his own delusions. The final character we then follow is Telemanti, one of the surviving Grey Knights from Armageddon. He and 12 other Grey Knights are on a quest to put a stop to the Demon Primarch once and for all, whatever the cost of achieving that might be. But what about Angron, you ask? Well, he is involved in like 2 scenes in the book, and otherwise doesn't really appear. Seriously, I don't know what the hell is up with Guymer and named characters. He constantly writes books for named characters, but always seems to forget to actually put them in. Anyway, this book does shed some light on his relationship with his sons, both in modern 40k as well as during the heresy. Mostly here it takes a look at how horrible of a father and a leader he really was. How for all his hatred towards the Emperor's actions, his own treatment towards his legion was even worse. So sure, there is some lore, but this book feels a lot more like a Lords of Silence for the world leaders than an actual Angron book. I personally really do not like this thing where Black Library basically clickbaits you into buying a book. Angron is on the front, it is literally called Angron, and it was hyped as the big Angron book. So it's really dumb that we barely even get a glimpse of the guy without any perspective or dialogue with him. Regardless, I do gotta say that the characters that we did get were all excellent. Kosalak showed the difficulty of commanding the world leaders and the brutal discipline and cunning required to do so. The Mistress was an excellent continuation from Echoes of Eternity. Lydis' arc was probably the most boring one, but had a very satisfying ending. Shanka provided some much needed comic relief, while Telemanti's arc was very grimdark. Often Black Library books with multiple character arcs have a clear winner and some that you might as well skip, but Guymer here has really created a set of stories of which every single one was really enjoyable. Furthermore, these all showed different parts of the World Eater's lore and allowed for some excellent world building, because like I said, this feels very much like the Lords of Silence for the World Eaters. It provides a true treasure trove of lore for the World Eaters, and any fan of the 12 should give this one a read. From the various ideologies within the Legion to the way they get recruits, and from the current relation with their Primarch to the multitude of horrors inflicted by the Butcher's nails. A similar thing can be said for the Grey Knights in this book, because holy shit, they are brutal here. Nothing is of limits for the Grey Knights to achieve their goals, and if anyone knew about the things they do here, they would probably be hunted to the edges of the galaxy by the Inquisition. Again, a lot of lore and cool world building is provided for them, and they do some very badass stuff. So too for Grey Knight fans, this really is a must read. I also really like the writing style of this book, which was somewhat reminiscent of Ian St. Martin's Angron Primarch novel. The book's overall tone is pretty dark and sad, which reflects the underlying melancholy of the world eaters. Interesting stylistic choices are made to show the madness induced by the nails, and no punches are pulled when it comes to portraying violence and gore. This is a Khornate novel, and it bloody feels like it. One final downside of this novel that I do want to mention is the awkward relationship it has with the Arcs of Omen series. Because while the Lions book fits perfectly within that series, this book does not really do so. It would be a spoiler for both this book as well as for the Arcs of Omen to talk about it here, but the choice to put the Grey Knights in this book becomes very weird once you have read the Arcs of Omen books. Then finally, I would like to praise the power levels in this book. Very often in Warhammer books, the protagonists are turned into some unbeatable demigods, while the antagonists meanwhile are turned into tissue paper. This book instead presents each faction as capable forces to be reckoned with. Sure, guardsmen barely stand a chance against a space marine, but numbers always can change that. Sure, a space marine is quite powerful, but one juiced up on warp dust even more so. This book portrays all of this very nicely, which gave it a very immersive and realistic feel to it. So all in all, I'm giving this one 4 to 5 insane barbarians. With a side note. For the World Eaters and Grey Knights, this is an amazing novel with very cool characters and some superb world building for both factions. All storylines were entertaining, comedy and seriousness were well balanced, and while there are a lot of characters, it was never overwhelming. That being said, this sucks as an Angron novel, so if I had to rate the cover or the Black Library's marketing team's treatment of this book, I would give them a big fat F. Anyways, that's all I got for you today. Have a nice evening, the book's linked down below, and don't forget your nightly prayers to Nagash.